I guess the light's not bad. The light's not too bad. Oh, there's a big glare. Maybe when you sit there, you can block that.
With my giant head.
No, you're not gonna. Bummer. Let me turn it more then, because that glare is not great. Hey, y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Tom, welcome.
I've been doing video editing. We both got Crisco head. That's what I call Crisco head. I look like somebody dipped my face in Crisco.
I need a haircut.
No kidding.
My hair's so long.
I'm getting my hair done tomorrow.
Hair did.
I got it. My cousin for my birthday got me a
thirsty.
What do you call it? A trip to the salon.
Yeah.
It was very nice of her. And her name's Darla. Thank you, Darla, if you're listening. My eyeballs are. I can't see nothing because I've been staring at the computer for an hour. I think that video is pretty good that I just did for my channel.
What's it about?
I talked about the water pipe and the solution. The solution that we came up for a water pipe situation.
The free state of Saskatchewan.
My eyes are so blurry. I can't see anything.
Welcome. Do you know Pam?
I was born in
Pam's
Oklahoma.
from Oklahoma.
I was born in Sallisaw, Oklahoma. I'm trying to iron down my sideburns. I got these big, bushy sideburns they're like this long and they won't stay behind my ears.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Shirley. The wind is blowing in my eyeballs. Oh, I got to get my eyes packed.
Eyes packed. We're at Eufaula?
Sallisaw, Oklahoma.
I never heard of that one. Eufaula?
But my dad lives in Durant.
Right?
My sister was born in Nowata, Oklahoma. And then another one was born in Tulsa.
Eufaula?
I haven't heard of that. It must be small.
Well, welcome. Where's your ice pack?
I got it.
Got it. Check.
My eyeball.
So
I try not to complain.
That's not happening.
It's hard for me.
Due south of Sallisaw.
Oh my gosh. Yep, I was born there, but then we moved directly to Arkansas. I don't remember living there at all. But then we moved from Arkansas to Hugo, Oklahoma. I lived in Hugo for a couple of years and also in Skytook, Oklahoma, which is close to Sallisaw. I could go on all day about the places I've lived. You want some ice pack?
No. Don't know either. Oh. She lived in a million tiny towns.
They were all really
the
small towns.
The moral of the story.
Skytook was
a million
close
small
to
towns.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Skytook. That school was gigantic compared to the other schools that I had been to.
Did everybody get a chance to see me make an idiot out of myself this week?
Isn't it too early to bring that up?
Well, I mean, we're a couple minutes in. What ifs?
They need about 5 minutes.
Saskatchewan. Oh, there's the Saska. All right.
Mm.
Saskatchewan.
Saskahoma.
That's in Canada for the layperson.
Eh?
Eh?
What you talking about? A boat. I used to have a friend from Michigan.
Sounds like the title of the book, A Million Locations by Pam Brian.
I thought about writing a book.
A Million Mistakes.
Oh,
hey, y'all.
Hey,
Melissa and Taylor. Welcome. We're just getting started. Take off,
Hey.
Everything I know about Canada, I learned from the. Oh gosh,
Trailer
what are their names?
Well,
I didn't think about that, but who's the takeoff hoser? Those guys.
I never watched that show.
Dave and something, the such and such brothers.
The guy that was on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Bob and Doug. That's it. Take off, hoser.
I need my lip stuff.
They made a movie, right? It was a good movie. Well, it wasn't a good movie. Funny movie.
We're both wearing black.
Yeah. This is. Looks
we
like
should have worn turtlenecks.
the Mackenzies. That's it. Oh, one of them is Rick Moranis. Rick
Just-
Moranis.
That's what I
Anyway.
said. Honey, I Shrunk the
You
Kids.
said Rick Moranis?
I said, honey, he was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Anyway, anywho, welcome everybody.
Has everybody seen the video of
Yeah.
the incident?
There's 9 people here. Has everybody seen it? Barbara C. from Tucson, welcome.
Hi, Barbara.
That's close. Pam sure had fun. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she got a kick out of it.
I did not.
And everybody said you should listen to Pam, but if you only knew, if I listened to Pam all the time, boy, this would be a whole
In my
different life.
defense, if that had happened to me, he would have laughed his behind
Oh, yeah.
off.
Diego Lou, Samstown. Samstown as in Vegas?
Let me go look. I think it's
How hot is it?
Lisa.
I'm going to guess
It
mid-90s? Mid-90s?
92, 93,
Oh,
and
lower-
inside,
Lower 90s?
inside, oh my gosh, it's 87.
We're at chilly 87 inside
Oh.
with the air conditioning.
Oh my Lord.
It's I guess it's low 90s.
Now you know I have the ice pack.
It was probably high-ish 90s today outside.
At one point,
Sorry,
it was
Brian, but we had a good
90.
laugh at your expense. I'm sure you did. That's good. Enjoy it.
Who had a laugh at your expense?
Barbara C. says we had a good laugh at your
Ah.
expense. It was pretty dumb. Looking back, I have no idea.
I
Why?
kept telling him that it's going to fall.
Of course, it was going to fall, but it was a silly little test. I didn't think it would go that badly, and I have no intention of building that way. But anyway, I thought I could get away with a test like that. I don't know why. It was dumb.
He's
There was no
really
way that was
smart,
gonna
so
work.
I was surprised to
So
see him
anyway,
doing that.
I guess I just got. Well, you know what happens? I don't do anything for days. I'm afraid to try something. So, and you're like, why aren't you out there building the bales? So I go out and I start stacking bales up because I'm not sure what else to do.
If you were going
So-
to do a test, though, I don't really understand why you didn't just do it in. You kind of just did it in the open air. I mean, you didn't have anything to balance it out. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying?
Do you think straw buildings are viable in Oklahoma with our humidity? I think the answer is yes. I mean, they make them everywhere. There might be some modifications necessary compared to what we do. I don't know, but I would think when it comes to high humidity, I mean, there's probably a lot that goes into the plasters that you choose. But I believe that they're viable everywhere.
We've seen people on TV doing it.
I mean, they
in
do
other
them
places.
in Germany. They do them in all kind of places where it's cold and wet. It definitely can be done. There might be some things you've got to do to protect, and maybe the plasters are different or something like that. But they're definitely. I think they're viable just about everywhere from what I've read. We've kind of focused on ours, and we get away with some things because we're pretty dry, which is nice. But so there might be some things, some extra precautions maybe you have to take in some other climates, but I'm pretty sure it would still work. Anyway, so there was that this week, of course. So hopefully everybody saw the video. I dropped some bales on my head. It was dumb. I regrouped. One of the reasons I did it that way is because I didn't have the stuff. I hadn't thought about, I spent so much time thinking about those last couple steps, the sill plate, the box beams, and I was still thinking about the box beams even when I did that bale thing. We've got a lot of clay. Sure, you can make some good plaster, I'm sure. But I think I got so caught up in those other steps that I kind of lost track of what was required to stack the bales. I knew that we were going to need some rebar pins and things like that, and like I said, I never really planned to build a wall the way I was just stacking them up, but I thought I could get away with a test. I think I was kind of fast forwarding to if the box beam had been on top of those 4 bales, I think I could have found a way to actually kind of cinch them down and would have been all right. Probably maybe with another couple people holding things in place, I probably could have gotten 4 bales and put a box beam and
with
cinched
more
them down, and it
people.
would have been tighter. It probably would have worked, but it was dumb to think that I could go out and just stack those up the way I did. That was just stupid. I just don't have an excuse for that. But we have never tried anything like that. Let me tell you about the rattler stuck to a sticky mouse trap. Thought it was a gopher snake. Oh boy! Wow. Yeah, we all do dumb things once in a while.
Man,
That
does
was,
not sound good.
like I said in the video, momentary lapse of judgment. But it got me. Luckily, it was the kick in the pants I needed to go to the store and get all the stuff that I need to actually stack the bales correctly. So I needed a bunch of rebar that I didn't have. I needed some extra wood pieces that are going to do things called vampire steaks. I don't know if everybody knows what that really means, but whoa!
Whoa, what?
Because I'm going to move to Yuma,
Oh.
where it's a little hotter. Thanks,
Aw,
Diego.
Thank
That's
you.
I got to admit that's a new name. Do you know?
Hi, Diego.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy hot in Yuma. It's going to be crazy hot. I haven't really spent any time there myself, but I know anytime you look up temperatures, Yuma tends to be one of the highest. So good luck with that. That's going to be rough. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I did something stupid this week. Hopefully, I'm sure it won't be the last, but hopefully,
Hey,
hopefully
if I
learned
had
something from it.
$1 for every stupid thing I've ever
I gotta
done,
say this
he doesn't
might
do many
this might come out wrong, but yeah, I mean, I've spent my whole life. This is not conceited or a compliment to myself at all. It's actually a knock on myself. I've spent my whole life trying to avoid mistakes, and I've actually done a pretty good job. But that means I've also not tried a lot of things. So we knew that when we came here. We knew I was going to have to try some things, and I knew that would mean some failures, which I avoid my whole life. Hey, Tim.
Oh, hey, Tim. My son Tim is Jack.
So this is what you're all seeing is personal growth for me. I don't know why I've been so afraid of failure my entire life. I blame it on my mother. She's on here.
My
but yeah,
parents,
I'm going to have to fail a few times to get some stuff right out here. So
my parents taught me how to make mistakes.
Pam's
Great.
been great at failure.
My parents always taught me not to be
Sherry,
afraid to
you
fail.
I never fail.
Excuse
Sherry,
me.
Sherry did plenty of failing for the whole family, I think. I didn't see. That's the first time I saw Sherry. I didn't know she was here.
Oh, hi, Sherry.
Anyway,
I still have Scott's Yoda
University
painting
of
or
Hard Knocks.
Grogu.
Oh yeah, we
Grogu
still have that.
painting.
Wow.
Yeah, we still have it.
Whoa.
I keep thinking they'll come and get it. Oh, hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul. Anyway, well, let's see what there is to talk. So there's that. So
This
if
is
anybody,
hot
if
already.
anybody didn't hear the video or see the video, it was stuff we I think had talked about already. You know, we just finally got a chance to put some footage out last week. You know, putting rock in the sill plate. I messed up a door buck, but we fixed it, I think.
Yeah, I think that was in.
So that was in a
was that
video.
in there?
Yeah.
It's been
And
a
again,
rough
I think we had talked
week.
about some of these things. Oh, so we had some weather. And
Oh my
this
gosh.
is since the last time we were on live. We definitely had some weather. We had some rain this past week, which
And it made it humid.
of course we need, but you know, it had some downsides for us, of course. Of course, we kind of really couldn't get out there with bales for a few days. Didn't even want to think about that.
It's just now getting dry.
Or
enough to
much of
get back
anything,
out.
because even though the temperature actually came down a little bit, it was really sticky and nasty. So it's been pretty bad for a couple of days. Yesterday was the first day it kind of broke. It got warmer, but it wasn't so muggy, and the sun was out. So we had a stretch there where we had a combination of heat, but yet a lot of cloud cover too, which is bad.
Detrimental.
That's a bad combination for solar. So we spent a lot of time just suffering, and when we did want to have air, we kind of had to kick the generator on because the sun just wasn't there for it. And
But then sometimes it was
So-
sprinkling or raining, so
Yeah.
we couldn't use the generator, and we weren't getting enough solar. So
we had
we
a
were
pretty
just kind of
rough weather week for
Bad.
us. We've been kind of uncomfortable. We had a stretch of 3 or 4 days where it was just uncomfortable, and you know that takes your motivation. You don't want to go out and do anything. So yeah, I think actually that was actually what allowed us, I think, to get some videos out as we were sitting in here all day long.
so we finally.
So that was good.
That was what we did.
But we didn't make a lot of progress outside. And okay, so we got some rain. So one day we got 2, I would say, decent rains and some sprinkles other than that. But the first rain gives about 1/4 of an inch. It came down maybe decent for about a half hour, and then light
and
for a while after that.
but the second one.
The second one
was
got a
really
little harder. It came
bad,
down pretty hard for a good 30 minutes or whatever.
and it washed away our
Yeah.
road a little.
We
bit.
got almost 3/4 of an inch, probably the majority of that in about 30 minutes, but it did rain for another couple hours, maybe after that, but lightly. So anyway, so we have that rain. We're in here. It actually brought the temperature down, which was kind of nice. And I mean, into the 60s. And it happened. We went from 90s to 60s.
a very short
really
period
fast.
of time, though.
So yeah, it dumped real fast. So we're like,
Felt
oh,
great.
it's nice and cool. That felt good. And, we look outside and we're like, is that enough water to make things really, really messy? And we thought maybe not. Take care. Much love. See you guys. Thanks, Diego. Really appreciate the super chat. Thank you. And good luck in Yuma. Keep us posted. So we didn't know, whether that was really a ton of rain. It's hard to tell sometimes on the land whether that's going to make the wash run. You really don't know until you go look. So it did run a little bit. So here's what happened. So we're in here, and I don't know whether you were at the sink or had gone to the bathroom or whatever, but Pam said, we don't have any water. And I said, are you serious? We don't have any water? And she said, yeah. Well, my first thought was, so the temperature had dropped a ton. And if you guys have been following, we think we've had this popping, you were in trouble with mine. We've had this problem of one of our connections kind of popping open, and it's been happening overnight. And that's because the temperature generally drops at night. And I think just the temperature change has been enough to cause those plastics to expand and contract and pop apart. So when Pam first said we didn't have water, I just assumed it was because the temperature had dropped and maybe that had caused that to open up. So
it just won't stay together.
So I just threw my shoes on in my shorts, didn't tie my shoes even, didn't take any tools. No, didn't take any tools. All I was going to do was shut it off. So, and then I figured I'd deal with it later. So I just walked down there thinking it had popped apart and I would just shut it off. And when I got down to the wash, I saw that it was running. So the line was not just popped apart. I mean, it was kind of being pushed by the water, right? It was flowing kind of both the hoses are kind of downstream getting pushed by the water. So it wasn't super deep at that point. I did run into my neighbor out there. He said he had been out there, I guess, while it was really going. And he said it was maybe a foot deep. So
I got a little bit of footage of it on the
I actually did too.
The video I put out today.
Oh, I should have told you I had some footage on my phone.
I still have it.
It might show up in our next video. It was nothing crazy, but it was enough to break that hose apart, and it was enough to eat away at our little dirt ramp, which isn't much,
so
and will definitely break down. So we lost water.
Which made everything even more miserable.
Shut it off and waited kind of for it to. We really couldn't put it back together right away because the water was still flowing a little bit, so that'd be pressure on that hose, and it would probably want to break it apart again. So anyway, this was just yet another, example of, I didn't think we were going to get hit this early. I didn't think it was going to break apart that many times. So we were fed up with the hose breaking apart, right? So we started looking for other solutions. So I talked to the neighbor while I was out there and everything. And I'll admit, people have suggested this already, and I probably should have taken the advice a long time ago. One of the things that people have said is, well, why don't you just put water into your RV freshwater holding tank and use it out of there? And I always thought, well, no, come on, we've got a well, we just hook up to the city water. The water's always there. You don't need to worry about it. Shark bite makes 1.25 inches. That's what I need, 1.25 inches. That's interesting to know. So I finally said, okay, let's take the plunge. I got tired of dealing with this hose breaking. So we said, let's go ahead and put the water in our RV freshwater tank. Now, of course, we haven't used that in years. So the first thing we had to do was, sanitize it. We had to do the little bit of bleach solution in there, and then you fill it up and you let it sit for a while. You run it through all the hoses. You let it sit for a while, and you flush it out, and you refill it. So we did that. And we did that with well water after we connected back up to the well water.
The bleach that I had, I think, had been in there for a long time.
Yeah, of
and
course.
Brian's like, I can't smell bleach.
We hadn't used bleach forever, so we used this bleach, but I couldn't even smell anything from the bleach. So I was like, is this even any good? And Pam Googled it, and apparently bleach can go bad after about 6 months and just kind of turn into water.
Some new bleach.
So we put some of that bleach in, but we didn't think it was going to really do anything. So we actually went to the store and got new bleach.
Now it smells like bleach.
Put some more in it. Well, of course, now it smells like bleach. So even though we've flushed it out once, we still have a little bit of a bleach smell, but that should go away here.
So
over time.
I took a shower and I got some shampoo.
Pam was screaming about her eyes.
I thought I had shampoo in
You
my
would think
eye.
it was Silkwood going on in the shower in there.
Most people don't know what Silkwood.
I think a lot of people know what Silkwood
But
is. I
I had bleach. I think the bleach was in my eye because normally if I get shampoo, it'll burn for a minute, but then it stops. And this was, so then I thought I had shampoo, so I'm trying to rinse my eyes out, and I'm putting more bleach in my
So anyway,
fell out of the shower. No, not really.
the end of that story is we've made the transition over to using the RV freshwater tank and couldn't be happier. So there's a couple things that are good about this.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well,
Don't go
we could be
crazy
all right.
there.
We could be happier.
I could be happier.
All right, but anyway, a couple good things out of that. Number one, I don't have a constant worry of, so all we're going to do basically is fill the RV tank from the well, when the well is connected. We'll turn it on, we'll turn the water on, the well's connected, we'll fill the tank. Then we'll shut the well water off, we'll disconnect from our spigot out here, and that does away with any connection to the well where if anything broke, anything would go crazy. I can actually shut the well water off, at the beginning of our line so that if it does break open, which by the way it will still break apart. Our hose connection will still break apart. But when it breaks apart, the water won't be on, so it won't be gushing out of that thing. And that tends to churn up our well water, and it makes it all dirty when that happens. So that problem should go away. Getting the dirty water after a break, that should go away. So that's one thing down. Number two, I'm not always worried about it. In the middle of the night, when we leave the property, I'm always worried that it's going to break apart. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
The worst part, I feel the worst about the fact that we have two neighbors that are affected every time our pipe breaks. They get muddy water.
That churn that happens affects us all, affects everybody on the well. All of a sudden, the water is muddy.
Should I go get the
you can show it if you want.
Jugs? Let me get my jugs out.
Nice jugs. So there's that. Another thing that I hadn't really thought about, but we're quite a ways from our well connection, as we've talked about in the past.
Let's see.
Because of that.
Here, hold that.
Yeah, can you?
I
don't know how well it'll come through on this camera, but
this is a clear one.
But
that's the one.
This is actually settled down into the bottom, and this isn't even as bad as it gets. But you can see that's the sediment that settles down into the bottom of that. Take that away. It clears up over time.
We keep these in case of an emergency.
Those are for flushing toilets if we don't have any water or anything. But anyway, the other thing that I hadn't really expected is, we're a ways from our well connection. So because of that, there's a pressure tank there. We don't have that great a water pressure. Now, it's all we've had really ever since we've been here, so we don't think much about it because it's all we know. But when we disconnected from the well and actually went to the pump that's in here that kicks on when you want to use water, I took a shower today and the water pressure was fantastic. It was great. So that's an improvement. So a bunch of things. Nice. Now, there is a downside in that, all we have is what's in that tank, and when it runs out, we have to refill it. But
that's okay.
That's a minor thing. It's just one step. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to transition to our water tanks here in steps now. So step one is move to the RV holding tank, fill it from the well. Step two is going to be if the well connection should happen to break for long enough, or I can't get to it or whatever, that I can't fill the RV tank from the well, I can fill the RV tank from the big tank that's outside. And that will only take a pump, which by the way, I already have. Now I don't have all the other pieces that will make the ultimate system. That's step three. So step three is a pump and a pressure tank and some filters to take the water from the tank that's clean, at least to the point of using for everything other than drinking, maybe. So that's the final step that I've been kind of avoiding for a long time because there's some things there that I need to kind of figure out. But to make it from step one,
sorry,
which is just filling the tank from the well, to step two, which is filling the tank from these tanks out here, all I need is a pump and a couple of fittings, and I think I can do that. And the next time I go into town to Ace, I'm going to get a couple of fittings, and I'm going to be prepared, I think, to do that pump, just to pump the water over. Now that we'll still be using the RV holding tank to give us pressure, the pump inside the RV to give us pressure, but we'll use a pump to transfer the water from a tank outside and inside. And then, of course, the final step is to build the system outside that has a pressure tank that'll pressurize the for some amount of time before the pump has to kick on again, so that you're not running your pump every time you turn the water on. So anyway, long explanation is we've made one step in the transition away from the well, and I'm really happy about it because it gives me a lot of peace of mind. It's going to save, I think, us and our neighbors from a
It's
lot of
been a
headache.
real pain.
So we think that's going to be really good. I'm kicking myself for not doing it sooner. That's another one of those. I'm not sure why I didn't do it. People suggested that many times. I just didn't want to do it because it's a hassle to clean that tank out, and to think that I've only got a certain amount of water before I run out. That bothers me when I know the well is unlimited water in theory, but it turns out it's not. So it's been a real hassle. So anyway, that's where we're at. We've made that water a step in our water transition, which is nice.
Is anybody there?
So is anybody still there? Welcome. So that
Brian put
that was
everybody
this
to
week.
sleep with his
Sorry,
water.
sorry
piped.
guys. That was something we did this week. I think even the videos that we put out this week, I think we had already done that stuff and maybe even already talked about that stuff on last week's live. So that's why I wanted to talk about the water, because that's new.
Oh, hi, Tom.
There is a RV water filter for your hose, $15-$20, screws right on the hose. Absolutely.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
actually have one, an inline water filter.
Yeah, we got that.
So yeah, we actually got that for when we pull from the tank, or even when we pull from the well.
I want to know
if it's dirty.
I want to know if my son watched the video of Brian the bales, because the bales falling on Brian, because when we were editing that video,
It was funny.
I was literally
Is
crying.
that a bye-bye, Barbara? Thanks
Bye,
thanks for
Barbara.
joining us.
Thanks for coming by. I was laughing very hard.
It was pretty funny later. I was not able to laugh at that moment, but it was funny.
Yeah, it was.
So the other thing that I did since the last time we've talked, I think that maybe had already happened the last time we talked, or we might have mentioned it last week even, but it did make me go to the store. I did do my shopping trip to get the things I need.
Oh, hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Good to see you still
Make Your Own
with us.
Water Filter by John Dye.
He was not
That's
injured.
funny that you mentioned that name. A friend of mine just sent me a video today, a link
John.
on YouTube to that guy.
John
And I think
Dye?
I've seen some of his videos before. He does some stuff on strawbale building. So a friend of mine sent me a link today. I think I've actually watched it in the past. It's just funny you should mention that name. University approved. Interesting.
We'll have to check that out.
And we've seen some other kind of make your own filter things. So watch it. I've built it. It works. Awesome.
That's
Is
cool. That sounds cool.
You know, I don't know if this is the same guy, but we've seen people make kind of the different levels of kind of rock filters, and they put sand in one, they put rock in another. They do different things in these little kind of rock structures that they've built up, and they fill them with things, and they just have kind of. These guys actually have like bamboo running from one to the other. These guys are out in the middle of nowhere. They basically don't talk. They just kind of do it, and you watch. I don't know if that's the same guy, but
Primitive Tool. Are you talking
it might
about
have been.
Primitive
It
Tool?
might have been Primitive
That's
Tool.
the one
that
I
did
saw.
that.
The water filter thing, like
Yeah.
a very primitive water filter.
So
That was cool.
we've seen a few of those things, but I do want to give that a try. I mean, we should try to filter our own water.
Mhm. Oh, and today we put mulch in the.
You ready for the heat wave? Yeah, it's coming back, isn't it?
Oh my!
I wouldn't mind it if the humidity came down, and maybe it will.
Hi, David. Hi, Dave and Julie.
Hey, Dave and Julie. People outside of Arizona. I don't think people in Arizona, but people outside of Arizona definitely make the joke, the dry heat joke, right? And that's kind of a joke, but the dry heat thing is a real thing, right? I don't mind the high temperatures when it's dry.
Hi, April and Red. It's
but
April and Red.
it being when it gets muggy, it's really tough. So I don't mind the temperature going up if it dries out a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's awesome. You have water now. I'm watching while I cook dinner. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but I think it is a step in the right direction for us, especially with the way the well's been behaving. So not that one, but similar. Do my own charcoal as well. Yeah. We definitely should play with some of that stuff.
Yeah, I wish we had a shade. I mean, I wish we could put just like rig up two or three poles and put a big shade sail over the top of it. But that's not that easy.
Where did that come from?
I saw somebody did it like over their RV. They just put up some poles.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds real easy,
but then the wind will probably blow
we've
it.
got crazy winds. Those shade sails break down from the sun. Those poles are Again, yeah, if I had to do over again, I would build a metal roof structure before I even brought this thing here. But you
When
know,
April
we're
and
3 years
Brent
in.
did-
I'm not going to do it now. Oh, is that why you said that? Because that's
Yeah.
what they did.
Well, they did. They made a big shade structure
okay.
between their those big storage
Oh,
things.
okay, okay.
What do you call
Sure.
those? The choo-choo
Shipping
train.
containers.
Shipping containers. That's it.
A spare 12-volt RV pump for your water will boost your system on solar.
Oh, is Dave saying me too because he wish he had a shade?
Oh, right. I don't think Dave has. Now, Dave did use a building to get a little bit of
to
shade, which
shade
was
it,
smart.
yeah.
Hey, guys.
Oh, hey.
Hey, Billy
Hey,
Bone.
Bill and Yvonne.
Howdy, y'all. Oh, so I wanted to bring something up on here. So, yeah. So that's kind of what's been going on. And I wanted to bring up a question, to ask a question for anybody here. Well, I have to move every once in a while. It's hot.
Yeah. Swampy.
I wanted to describe a problem that I think we're going to encounter. Now, before I say this, I understand that I shouldn't think of it as a problem until I hit it, but I'm pretty certain it's going to happen.
He has a question he's been wondering about.
And it hit me when it literally hit me when the bale thing happened, right?
Yeah.
So here's the issue, and some people are going to, like, I think Bill might really follow this because he's dealt with bales. Some people that haven't dealt with bales might not know exactly what I'm describing, but I think I can describe it so that it'll make sense. And there's going to be a tiny little bit of math here, but I won't go crazy.
Oh, no.
See if you can follow me. So here's a problem that I think I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm curious what people's ideas are. So here's the deal. When I stacked those bales like a dummy, and had them fall over on me, one of the things that I did when I was stacking them is when I got to 2 bales high, I just pulled out a tape measure and I measured them. And, you know, I did it really quick and I wasn't really paying close attention. And, you know, maybe the bales I picked out were funny bales or whatever. But anyway, whatever the reason,
Yes.
I think I measured them at 45 inches tall for 2 bales. So when we all say, it's pretty common, especially for the bales on edge like we're doing, it's pretty common to think of a bale as basically 2 feet high, roughly, right? And that's fine. It is roughly 2 feet high, but it looks like to me it's a little bit short. So here's why that matters. If indeed those bales were 3 inches short already by the time I stacked 2 of them up, that means that after 2 bales, I'm already 3 inches short of my 2 feet per bale. You know, we all have this assumption kind of in our heads that when we stack 4 bales, we're going to have an 8-foot wall, right? And then we'll, you know, I've been saying for a long time that I've got my bucks that go from floor to ceiling, and they're currently 8 feet tall. I'll build up my bales to be 8 feet tall, and then I'll squeeze the bales down, and I'll cut the bucks down to match. You know, and whatever that comes out to be, 2, 3, 4 inches, whatever it is, fine, right? No big deal.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. If those bales don't actually stack up to be 8 feet tall, let's say they come up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches short. I don't know. Let's use 6. That might be extreme, but let's say they come up 6 inches short. Let's say instead of being 8 feet tall, just stacked free without squeezing them yet, let's say they're 7 feet 6 inches tall. Okay, that's 84. That's 90 inches. Okay, 90 inches.
Yeah, don't ask me.
Now that's just free stacked, right? I haven't squeezed them down yet. So when I squeeze them down, they're going to come down a little farther, right? Here's the problem. I have a door buck that is a big French door, a 6 foot wide French door. Because it's a 6 foot wide French door, I gave it a header that was a 2x10. Now 2x10 is 9 1/4 inches tall. So the rough opening for that door is 80 inches. And then the header on top of that of 9 1/4 inches makes for 89 1/4 inches. Okay, so the top of that header is 89 1/4 inches. That's the highest thing out of all my window and door bucks. That's the highest header over any window or door, right? Okay, 89 1/4 inches. So if my bales only stack up to be 90 inches, or let's say they stack up to 92 or whatever they stack up to, but they're short of 8 feet, and then I want to squeeze them, it seems to me entirely possible. It seems to me entirely possible that when I squeeze them, my bales are going to kind of come down below that header. And that's bad, right? I keep saying that I'm going to cut off my bucks to match the bales. Well, I can't cut off a header, right? So hopefully everybody sees that problem. What do you think about that? I see Bill is saying just redesign your box beam.
Did you already buy the materials for that?
I did, but the box beam isn't the issue. The box beam goes on top of the bales.
Duck.
I have a disconnect between the height of my bales and the height of my bucks. I'm saying the lowest I can chop my bucks down is to the height of that one tall header, right? So this is the lowest I can go. My bales are going to go this low. It doesn't matter whether the box beam I put on top of them is this big, or it doesn't really matter. If the bales squeeze down past the buck, past that header, I've got a problem. The box beam is going to run over your bucks. I understand that. So yes, the box beam will hit the bucks and stop. And in this case, let's say it hits that header. Let's say that's as far as I can chop it down. Let's say I chop down the bucks to the top of that one header. So yes, the box beam will squish down and it'll hit the buck, let's say it hits that header. But my point is, what if when that happens, I've reached that header, what if I haven't compressed my bales to their, potential compression? Does that make sense? You'd like to do a test beforehand that says, okay, my bales are going to compress however many inches. Well, if I stop when I hit that buck, that header, and I say I can't go any farther, yes, I could just stop there with the box beam. I could just let it stop there, but I don't think at that point I'll have compressed my bales.
Could you
design a box beam that has pieces of wood that would fill that gap between the bales? That's an interesting point, Bill. Perhaps. I did not think of that, but the second you said that out, I think I see what you're saying. So the box beam is going along. Think of the box beam as one flat thing. When the box beam crosses over a buck, and in this case, the tallest header, so it's just sitting on top of that. It's a little piece of plywood and some 2x4s built into a ladder structure. So it's going along. And then when it gets to the bales, when it leaves the buck and gets to the bales, I think Bill is saying, put extra wood on the bottom of it to kind of reach down. I don't know if I'm describing it well, but I think I understand what you're saying, Bill. And that seems like definitely a potential way to go.
I suggested that a long time ago.
Because when I was wanting to stuff straw into places, yeah, okay, that is what you're describing. That makes sense to me. Now, hopefully, if I do miss, like I'm describing, hopefully I'm only going to miss by a little bit. And maybe it's as simple as a 2x4 laid flat on its edge, and it gives me an extra 1.5 inches to push down. But you do understand what I'm saying, and I think I understand what you're suggesting as a fix, and I think I could totally live with that. It's a little extra wood. It's not perfect. It's not, ideally that wouldn't happen, but I could buy that. I guess the only thing that would be bad is if I'm really missing by a lot. Say I'm missing by 3, 4, 5 inches. That maybe that's not such a great idea then. But if I miss by a little,
will all the bales
I like that.
Compress the same?
They won't compress exactly the same, but they'll be close. They'll be within, some tolerance that they'll be pretty darn close.
Can you go one course higher?
Interesting question.
I asked that too.
That was the first thing a friend of mine, Craig, said. I can't remember if Craig was on here or not.
Or
but I don't
why
think he
can't
is.
you just cram in chunks?
Okay, so a couple things there. Number one, can you go one bale higher? Not exactly. Not a full bale at least, because if we go one bale higher, the problem is now I have the reverse problem, where now the buck that I've built isn't reaching the same height as the bales, and I have the other problem where the whole idea of putting these bucks from floor to ceiling is that they will help support, they will assist the bales in supporting the box beam. So they have to reach the box beam. Well, if I go one bale higher, now the wall gets much taller and the buck doesn't reach. So I have the opposite problem. So it's not as simple as just slapping another bale. Now you could try to cut a bale. That's generally not the way you would cut a bale. You usually cut them in this dimension, not this dimension. So that would be weird to try and cut a bale, but we talked about that too. It would be tough.
Your mom's asking, can you cut the bales?
My mom says, can you cut bales and add to top to make bale walls higher? So I think what she's saying is, yeah, normally the bale's laying this way. I mean, we could maybe cut a bale with a chainsaw and you'd have to retie it and everything, but there comes a point where if you only needed about that much, it might be hard to make that bale. It has to do with the way, normally when we cut a bale, we're shrinking it in the 4 foot dimension, roughly 4 foot dimension. We're cutting it this way and we're tying new strings around it this way. Normally we're not cutting them down this way. Not that it's impossible, but it'd be a little weird. And depending on how much space you wanted to fill, it could definitely be difficult.
Can you read Alan's
So Alan's is, rather than filling below the box beam, wouldn't it be less work to compress as needed and attach to the side of the door buck and fill in above the door header to match if needed? I got to think about that. Rather than filling below the box beam, wouldn't it be less work to compress as needed and attach to each side of the door buck and fill in above the door header to match? I'm not sure if I follow, Alan. I'm sorry. It's tough. If the bale surpasses the buck, build an upper box with jack studs to components. If the bale surpasses the buck. I mean, it's interesting. We are going to actually, much like Bill did, we're going to add sort of a, whatever you want to call it, a half wall, a pony wall, or whatever, on top of that box beam to give us the slope of the roof. One side's going to be high. So even though all the walls will stop at the box beam at an equal level, we will have this extra wall on the high side, which in theory you could build higher, but then your box beam wouldn't be able to run around anyway. There's a lot of variables involved, but I gotta say I am definitely interested maybe in what Bill is suggesting. Oh, could you raise your toe up between the box if needed by adding an additional? Sort of kind of the same solution that you suggested before, Bill, but just added at the bottom rather than at the top.
Ooh, that's
definitely a possibility. I'm glad I asked these questions because I could live with both of those solutions. Now, like I said, I have to actually kind of do 4 levels of bales and squeeze them down to prove that this is going to occur, but I think there's a pretty high likelihood, based on what I've seen so far, that this is going to occur. So I'm going to try and get to all of these. Thank you, Bill, for your suggestions, and everybody.
Use any other material above
any other material above bale walls besides straw, or does that defeat the purpose? So, Mom, what you're suggesting is kind of what Bill is suggesting. Bill is suggesting essentially adding wood above the straw, but he's suggesting either adding it, kind of building it onto the bottom of the box beam to kind of make the box beam do this, where there's bales. Does that make sense? Or he's suggesting adding wood at the bottom to make the sill plate do this, so that the bales will start higher. Both of those would work.
I asked the question about spray foam yesterday to make up the difference, and our friend Steve was here, and he said that would not be strong enough.
You have to build a form to hold that spray foam. I don't know that spray foam is really
your bottom.
You could use potentially. You could use rigid foam in sheets to kind of place in that area if you wanted. The spray foam, I don't know. That'd be tough. Can you raise your bottom box beam, essentially the sill plate or the toe up, which is what Bill just suggested. Tom, that is definitely a possibility. Yes. Raising the toe up would probably be easier. That's probably true. And since I haven't stacked a bale yet, this, of course, would be the time to do it. I actually really like that. I really like that possibility, guys. I'm glad I asked. He's probably saying closed cell. That may be true. Closed cell is more rigid, for sure. Mm-hmm. If you add to the bottom, doesn't that limit your insulation? Well, I mean, a toe up with gravel in it is probably not as good of insulation as a bale, but it's not bad. And we're probably talking about, depending on how big of a problem this is, it could be. We could be talking about an inch or 2, 3 inches. It might not be the end of the world. I'm liking these suggestions, guys. I appreciate it.
Throw those around.
I wouldn't use spray foam. Not what it's intended for. Wouldn't be solid. I tend to agree. Spray foam would be tough to even kind of get it in that spot, and I don't know that it's really intended for that.
For more great
tips and tricks, become a patron on our channel.
A Patreon.
Oh. That's a good solution. I was trying to find a way to sneak extra straw in, but
closed cell. Could you do that? Because that'd be cheaper.
Closed cell again.
Wood is expensive.
I don't know much about closed cell foam. I don't know if we're still talking spray, but anytime you wanted to spray something, you have to build an enclosure for that spray. So that's the part that I don't really. When I think of using foam to do something like this, I think of buying a piece of rigid foam and cutting it into basically like a mini bale, but it's foam, and putting it in there. That is a potential solution. But I'm actually liking the idea of putting wood either at the bottom or the top. I think the bottom is easier and better, maybe.
Wasn't it Donna yesterday suggested some sort of foam thing, or
We were talking about this with friends of ours yesterday, and we were bouncing some things around, and we
What do
didn't
you
get
call it?
anything we were real
Styrofoam?
comfortable with. But I don't know why I didn't think of the possibility of adding wood either to make the box beam kind of do that in the places where you would need, or making the sill plate do this in the places where you would need. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, I need to get out there and stack 4 bales, which I'm going to do very soon. I'm going to stack 4 bales, and I'm going to squeeze them down, and I'm going to find out how bad this problem is. Hopefully it's just off by a little bit. Hopefully it's not off by a lot. Because if it gets to be a lot, then I don't know. But anyway, I really appreciate all these ideas, guys. Thank you. I think a couple of those could work. And I'm not saying closed cell foam couldn't work, but I like the simplicity of the modifying either the sill, the toe up, or the box beam. Those are both pretty straightforward fixes. Obviously, in a perfect world, I wouldn't have to do it at all, but you know, we are where we are. So I think those are possibilities. And I should mention, you know, the friend that was here yesterday that we were talking, he's already sent me a text today that he says he had some other ideas. For all I know, he might have this idea already in his head, but I'll run this by him.
yeah.
But I like that possibility. Yes, it means that you know, that's not insulated kind of the same way a bale would be, but it's still pretty decent, I think. It's still thick. But it's not perfect, but it's not bad. It's not bad, I think.
So when do you think, I mean, we have a couple of dry days coming up.
Yeah, I think we do. I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how I'm going to different ways to tarp, because you have to be able to tarp, and then you have to be able to get access back, and you have to basically tarp it at night, untarp it in the morning.
We'll definitely be filming the stacking.
Are you going to film
next stacking?
And I was trying to do that one. It's funny. I don't know if you were watching me and you came out, or if it was just a coincidence that you happened to come out right at the right time.
I came out right.
I was trying to film myself. You know, you could tell the camera was kind of far away. The reason it was far away is because I was trying to keep it in the shade from the sun.
It was really hot there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway, well, that makes me feel a lot better. Those, again, it's unfortunate that I can see the dollar signs of extra wood and stuff in my head, but I think it's a reasonable compromise for the problem I think I'm trying to solve here. So I'm happy about that. I'm bummed that it might take some more wood. That's unfortunate.
They say wood's going to go down, but I don't see that happening.
I'm not optimistic.
Why would they lower the prices whenever?
Let us know when you stack. We'll want to come and film too.
Maybe you can get Craig. Craig's been helping some.
So anyway.
Where's Craig? Where are you, Craig?
I don't know. He went out to his land today. He might be.
Oh.
He might either still be out there or be on the road or something. I don't know. But make sure to measure all your bales. They are different. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Which that's one reason why I said, you know, there's going to be some variability, and maybe I just happen to catch a couple of short bales, and maybe this problem won't be as bad as I'm fearing. And I mean, there's a slight chance maybe it won't happen at all, like I'm suggesting, but I think it's going to happen. But I realize that all the bales can be different for sure. And I know there's going to be a little bit of variation there. And I know that means that when I pull that box beam down, I will hit the bale, the bucks. And there is the chance that when I hit the bucks and I stop, obviously, some of the bales will actually be compressed a slight bit more than some others or whatever, right? But that's kind of the point of doing this hybrid method of using wood to support and bales to support. They're kind of sharing the load. So even though the box beam will stop at the bucks, the bales will be taking, I think, a good portion of that weight, but there's variability in each of those bale stacks. So it'll be different, but I think it's a good, yeah, we'll be aware that the bales are different. We'll be doing a lot of shaving. I know Bill did it a lot with a chainsaw, which we have. I believe we have an electric chainsaw.
Do you still
but I also might.
Thing
I haven't built the little tool yet, but I don't know, Bill, if you had seen this before, but yeah, at one of the volunteer things we went to, they took a piece of metal lath, and just nailed or screwed it to a block of wood. Basically made it into basically a bale sander, right? So they just kind of shaved it. It worked really well for kind of shaving up a bale really quickly on the edge when they're real furry So I don't know if that'll be quite as good for making them nice and straight as the chainsaw is, but I mean, it really does kind of shave a bale down real quick. So we'll be trying to use that method. But yeah, we're definitely aware that they're all different. And we'll try, and we learned from Bill and Yvonne that it's probably a good idea to try and prep them beforehand a little bit, like shave them down, try and get them as square as you can, pick the right edges if you can, maybe tamp them a little bit to kind of straighten them out some. So that was good. A bale rasp, yeah, that's a good name for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time I had seen it, you know, even after having been at Canelo and all that.
Yeah,
when we went to that volunteer thing in Tucson where they put up walls, they had several of those laying around, and they were really handy. They would make quick work of shaving a bale. So, yeah, I saw.
Oh yeah, we were just watching that.
I guess you can persuade some of those bales, right? So we'll be aware of that too. It's a little extra time beforehand that maybe when you're putting those bales up, maybe you just want to stack them in place like blocks because it can go so fast. But I'm sure it's smarter to kind of take your time and do a little prep on each of those bales, and you'll end up with a better end product. So we will take that extra time. That makes sense. So yeah, that's where we're at. I think I've covered everything that's been going on and kind of what we have coming up. But
yeah,
any questions, anybody?
Hopefully it goes better next time.
Hopefully, I mean, of course, we'll cross our fingers now. You know, I know everybody wants rain, and we do too. But I'll cross my fingers to get a little bit of dry time. But I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm have a plan for covering these bales. So I know we're going to get rained on.
Just right.
I know we're going to get rained on. I'm just going to try and be prepared. So we'll just take that as it comes. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about different methods of tarping this stuff up. And it'd be one thing if you just wanted to tarp it and forget it, but you have to kind of keep getting access to it every day. So as you'll see in some of our videos, we also ran straps over the third course to stable. Definitely saw that. I saw your third course got a little in one spot. I guess your longest stretch of open space or just bales, right? Yeah, that not too surprising, I guess. So yeah, if we come to that, we'll keep in mind that that's definitely a possibility. I don't think it'll happen when we're between bucks. I don't think we'll have a lot of, I think it'll actually be fairly stable in between bucks because we've got some short sections in between bucks, and we'll be kind of squeezing them in between, and we'll be attaching to the bucks with the vampire stakes and everything. So I think we'll have some good stability on a lot of those sections, but that long stretch, which we have a long stretch on the west side, we've got no windows in there. And I expect that wall to do a little bit of, so we'll keep in mind that maybe after that third course, maybe throw some strapping material to kind of cinch it down a little bit. So that was a good tip. And it's our west wall and our prevailing winds. Now they do move around, but I think our prevailing winds are largely south and west, from the south and west. So yeah, that west wall could give us a little trouble. It won't surprise me. But we'll do the best we can, and we know that that's a nice potential. Did you just kick something?
No,
I heard a loud noise.
That was my skin ripping off.
Anyway, I mean, I'm not going to cut anybody off, but I think that covers most stuff.
Have you decided to?
Have you decided to do your own? I think we have decided to do our own rafters. One, there's a couple reasons. One, the control factor. I like the control factor that it gives us. Two, the cost. I mean, it's definitely cheaper. Yeah, wood's expensive, but it's still cheaper.
On rebar, no matter.
So don't skimp on the rebar. Yeah.
He just bought a bunch.
Yeah. He's not going to be a problem. Yeah, I know that there are a lot of places out there, either in book. I can't remember if I've seen it in books, but I've definitely seen it on YouTube, where some people will say to stay away from rebar inside the bales because they say, you know, with hot and cold, that there can actually be condensation and that gets water in your bales. I don't think that's going to be an issue for us. I will ask you this though, Bill. I know you kind of went back and forth, I think, either on the choice. I don't know where you ended up, or if you actually used a little bit of both. For the bale, for the spikes, the rebar spikes that are going to go down in the bales, I bought a bunch of 3/8 inch rebar. Is that is that enough, or did you use 1/2 inch? Because I noticed. Now I bought 20 footers of 3/8 inch rebar, and of course when it's in 20-foot lengths, it's pretty wobbly. Is 3/8 strong enough? or do I need half?
When you're assembling,
Because I bought
do you
3/8.
plan on doing a complete course around before going up?
That's a good question.
Wondering
I'll
for
answer that now
yourselves.
while I'm waiting for Bill's response. Generally, you would. In load-bearing straw bale, generally you would do kind of a whole first course, a whole second course, a whole third course, and I think that's what Bill did. Generally, you would. But because we're doing this hybrid method where when we run along a course, we're going to run it. We have a lot of breaks with these window and door bucks, and they're breaks from floor to ceiling. So because of that, we're not going to try necessarily to go around a full first course, a full second course, a full third course. We're actually going to approach these sections between bucks, and we'll build a whole section from floor to ceiling between the bucks. So now the one thing we'll have to watch out for by doing that is we'll have to watch out that we don't kick our bucks, out of square or get them to kind of get stressed. We might have to add some cross members into our bucks or, things to keep from letting those bucks kind of get moved from the bales. But we plan to build, I think, in the sections. So that's right. It was number 4. Good memory. Bill, do you think 3/8 is going to have a little too much? Will it give us the rigidity we need in those bales? I was worried when I bought it, but 3/8 was such a good price, and I've had 1/2 inch, and it almost sometimes seems overkill. So I bought a bunch of 3/8. Do you think it's enough?
Can you take it? Can you return it?
I could.
Exchange it?
I don't want to, but I could.
Yeah, that was a pain.
I could. We drove it home in our truck in 20-footers. We got it from in Benson. It was a chore to get it home. I could replace them, but I don't want to. But when I got them home and they were kind of wobbly, I was like, "Boy, are these strong enough?" And I couldn't remember whether you used 3/8 or half.
It's getting dark out.
Anyway, I hope that's good enough. I don't want to swap them out.
Look, it looks really dark. Pretty dark on the thing.
So anyway, I've got a bunch of 3/8 rebar. I've got a bunch of wood to make basically vampire stakes. Bite the bullet, return them. Oh man. I might. I hate to say that, but yeah. When I was transporting them, I thought, boy, these feel flimsy.
It wasn't that bad.
We could do it.
Yeah, I'll take them
Anyway.
back. Load them up.
Hopefully, it was shocking that Benson Ace had just as good a price. I can't remember; they might have been off by a few cents, but Benson Ace had just as good a price as Lowe's and Home Depot down in Sierra Vista. So at least on the 3/8, I'll have to check on the 1/2 inch. But it's going to be a hassle to return that. But if it's the right thing to do, I'll do it. If it's going to make it way stronger, I'll do it. There'll be more money, of course, too. But if it's the right thing, I'll do it.
Is it that much more?
I can't remember what the jump is on a 20-footer. But it's going to be a sizable jump.
I use 3/8 to tie together railroad.
Railroad ties are heavy, and they've got a good bit of stability even among themselves. These bales really do get pretty
wonky.
Benson lumber was the absolute cheapest for rebar. Benson lumber? No kidding. I didn't know that. I was surprised at Ace's
did you
prices.
even ask Benson lumber?
I rarely even check Benson lumber.
Maybe we can return those to Ace and go to Benson.
I'm not sure if Dave means how long are they. Duration-wise, they stay in the bales. And as far as long, they'll be anywhere from 4 to 5 feet long in length for the stretch that they'll run. But they stay in the bales. I got to admit, I rarely check Benson lumber. I probably should check it more often.
Yeah.
We're getting a little dark here, but we're about to end. So
yeah, we're gonna end.
Anyway, thanks for all the advice.
Thank you.
I probably will go with 1/2 inch rebar. That's a hassle and that's a little more money, but if it's better, it's better. And I appreciate the advice on this. I'll let you know. Hopefully we'll know this week if I'm going to have that problem and how bad it's going to be. Hopefully if we have, it'd be great if we didn't have it at all, but hopefully if we have it, it'll just be small. And I wouldn't mind adding just a little extra wood either at the bottom or the top. I think the bottom might be better, but yeah, I could live with that. So love you guys. Thanks for the ideas, everybody. I'm really glad I asked the question. I'm really glad we have these lives. That
Thanks,
was
y'all.
great information. I appreciate it. Great ideas. If concerned about dissimilar compensation, you can do plastic paint coat the video. I'm sure there's things you can do. I'm not really concerned about it. There are those online that talk about it. I don't think it's a concern, especially for
Did
us.
Canelo
I don't think it's
mention
an
that?
issue. I think Canelo does not use rebar in their stuff, but I don't know if that's why
he
or
did
not.
buy the rebar at Ace, he says.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I was surprised at Ace's price. I was really surprised. But now it looks like I'll swap it out for half.
What were you saying about Canelo?
But I do think Canelo avoids rebar
Oh.
inside their bales, but I don't know if it's because of that
it's dry
condensation
enough here.
or if it's to be more green. You know, they might be doing it to be more green, but they also use all thread, but they use bamboo on the outside. They do a lot of things on the outside of the bales to try and squeeze them. I don't think they drive anything down in between.
All right, it's getting
But I
be
could
a
be wrong.
sweat box over
It
here.
is pretty warm, y'all.
Yikes.
So we're an hour in. We're gonna call it. I appreciate
Thank you,
everybody
everybody.
stopping by. I appreciate all the ideas. Very much appreciated. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Hopefully you can see how that goes this week. We'll let you know how everything goes. Don't you go dying on me. I assume, knowing that's Jim, that's a reference to
Dumb
Dumb and
and
Dumber.
Dumber.
Good job, Jim.
Thanks,
All right, we'll talk to y'all later. We'll see you next
Good
time.
night.
Night, night.